The stars around the planet Varelia shimmered like tiny eyes, watching in silence. In the middle of that cold darkness, a single ship appeared, sleek, black, and quiet. The HSS Whisper slid into orbit. The other ships were already there. Big ones, bright, armored, covered in weapons. They belonged to alien empires with names that echoed across the galaxy. The Drogar Empire, the Sarathi Union, and the mysterious Varn Collective. All of them were here for one reason: Varelia. This planet wasn't just beautiful, it was valuable. Its forests were made of living metal. Its lakes glowed with pure energy. Strange rock islands floated in the sky, powered by forces no one fully understood. Everyone wanted a piece of it. But the humans were late, and worse, they only sent one ship. In the command room of the Whisper, Captain Rayan Cole stood in silence. He was tall, with short black hair and a sharp, thoughtful face. He stared at the main screen, watching the alien fleets in orbit. His crew sat at their stations, waiting for orders. "Sir," said Lieutenant Mira, breaking the silence. "We've received transmission from Earth. It's brief." Rayan nodded. "Play it." A message blinked onto the screen. "Observe. Hold position. Await Phase 2. No details, no backup, no explanation." One of the officers frowned. "That's it? We're outnumbered, outgunned, and they tell us to just sit here." Rayan didn't respond right away. He kept his eyes on the enemy ships. The Drogar fleet alone had 5 warcruisers. Each one could blast the Whisper into pieces in seconds. Still, he showed no fear. "We follow orders," he said calmly. "And we watch." Outside the ship, the alien fleets took notice. Messages started coming in. Some were formal, cold greetings. Others were less polite. Then came the voice of Warlord Jarok, leader of the Drogar. His face appeared on the screen, reptilian, scarred, and full of anger. His voice was deep and rough. "Is this a joke, human? One ship? You insult us by showing up at all." Rayan didn't flinch. He stepped closer to the screen and replied in a steady voice, "We came to observe. We won't get in your way." Jarok bared his teeth. "If you won't fight, then leave. Before you're pushed." The screen went black. Silence fell over the command room again. Rayan looked at his crew. Record his words. Every word. We'll need it later. He turned back to the main window. The planet Varelia shined below them, quiet, untouched, waiting. Rayan spoke softly. "Let them underestimate us." No one answered. They didn't need to. The game had begun. The planet below was alive with strange beauty. From orbit, Varelia looked like a glowing marble. Blue, silver, and green swirls danced across its surface. But peace was an illusion. Everyone in space knew it. Inside the HSS Whisper, Captain Rayan Cole stood in front of the large front window, watching Varelia spin slowly below. Around his ship, the alien fleets moved like sharks circling prey. The Drogar Empire's warcruisers were closest. Their heavy cannons and blood-red armor gleamed under the distant light. The Sarathi Union, quiet and secretive, floated in triangular vessels, scanning the planet from a distance. The Varn Collective's living ships pulsed with soft blue light, as if they were breathing. They were all watching the planet. And now, they were all watching him. "Drogar scout ships have entered the upper atmosphere," Lieutenant Mira said from her station. "Looks like they've started claiming territory." Rayan nodded. "Let them." Some of the crew exchanged nervous glances. Ensign Grant spoke up. "Captain, we should do something, even a flyby. If we just sit here, we'll look weak." Rayan looked at him, calm and unreadable. "That's the point." He tapped a few buttons on the console. A holographic map of Varelia appeared, marked with bright red zones. Drogar landing spots, then yellow ones, Sarathi observation points. Blue, Varn energy scans. Rayan added a single green dot. "Send 2 stealth drones down to this location," he ordered. "No contact, just observation." "Aye, sir," Mira replied. The drones launched silently, vanishing into the planet's clouds. The crew obeyed, but some were still unsure. "What are we waiting for?" Ensign Grant muttered under his breath. Rayan heard him. "We're waiting," he said, "because if we move too soon, we become the threat. Let them act first." Before anyone could answer, a new message blinked on the screen. "Incoming transmission. Drogar Empire." The image of Warlord Jarak appeared again. His eyes were filled with contempt. "Still hiding behind silence, human," he growled. "You're wasting orbit space. Leave or I'll make space for you." Rayan didn't blink. "We have permission to observe. From Earth, and from the Council of Nine. We'll remain." Jarak's laugh was low and bitter. "One ship, one man. You're not here to observe. You're here to die slowly." The screen cut off. Rayan turned to the crew. "Let him believe that." Then he turned to his second officer. "Activate passive scan mode. Keep tracking their energy output, weapon status, and troop movements." "And the drones?" Mira asked. "Have them scan underground. Look for anything unnatural." "Unnatural." Rayan nodded. "This planet has secrets. We're not the only ones who know it." Outside, the other ships kept moving. On the surface of Varelia, landers touched down. Bases were being built. Claims were being made. But from above, the whisper said nothing, did nothing. It just watched. And while everyone looked at its silence with suspicion, no one noticed what it was really doing. 3 days passed. The HSS Whisper still floated in orbit like a shadow. It hadn't fired a weapon. It hadn't claimed land. It hadn't made a single aggressive move. But inside, it was far from silent. Captain Rayan Cole stood at the center of the command room, reviewing maps of Varelia. New data glowed on the holographic display. Readings from the 2 stealth drones hidden deep within the planet's surface. "Sir," said Lieutenant Mira, pointing to a section of the map near a crystal canyon, "the drones found something, energy signatures buried underground. Strong, not natural." Rayan leaned in. "Artificial." Mira nodded. "Old, very old. We don't know who built it." "Mark it," Rayan said, "and keep it quiet." The crew had grown tense. They felt surrounded. Outnumbered, outgunned, but Rayan stayed calm. He stepped aside and checked the secure line from Earth. It blinked with a new message. He opened it and read the words carefully. "Phase 2 approaching. Maintain the veil. Do not provoke. Let them strike first. No further explanation. Just strategy." Earth was playing a long game, and Rayan was the key piece. Still no reinforcements. Ensign Grant asked from behind him, unable to hide his frustration. Rayan shook his head. "We were never meant to fight. Not directly." "Then why are we even here?" Rayan turned. "To give them a choice. War or mistake." Before Grant could respond, alarms sounded. Mira turned quickly to her station. "Drogar fleet is mobilizing. A group of attack ships just moved into formation, heading toward us." The crew tensed. Rayan didn't. He stared at the screen and watched the red markers form a tight triangle around the Whisper. "Don't raise shields yet," he said. "But sir, not yet." The crew held their breath. The enemy ships drew closer. A message came through. Jarak again. This time he didn't wait. "You've had your chance, human. You refused to leave. So now we'll remove you." One whisper, silenced. The screen went black. Mira looked up. "They're charging weapons." Rayan nodded. "Good." He stepped up to the command console and gave a new order, his voice quiet but clear. "Power down the outer lights. Cut main drive signals. Make it look like we're failing." Mira blinked. "Sir, trust me." The whisper dimmed. Outside it looked like a damaged ship losing power. Inside it was fully alive. Rayan turned to his second officer. "Activate satellite beacons." One by one, quietly. "Aye, sir." Far above the planet, small signals lit up. Tiny pings echoed into the black. Invisible to most sensors, but very real. Rayan's voice was steady. "They think we're weak. They think they'll hit us and win. But they're walking into a trap." He looked at the planet below. "And when they strike, we'll show them what one ship can do." The Drogar fleet moved fast. 5 attack ships broke from their formation and flew straight toward the HS Whisper. They came in tight and low, like wolves hunting a lone deer. Their weapons were locked. Their engines burned bright red. Inside the Whisper, every crew member knew what was coming. 30 seconds until they enter firing range, Lieutenant Mira said. Her voice was tense. Captain Rayan Cole stood tall at the center of the command deck. Calm, focused. Still no shields? Ensign Grant asked. Rayan shook his head. Not yet. Sir, if they fire, they will. Outside, the alien ships drew closer. On the main screen, the Drogar vessels looked massive. Their weapons glowed. Their leaders were ready to make an example out of the humans. Rayan watched the timer. 10 seconds, Mira said quietly. Now, Rayan said. Activate the web. With one command, the ship's secret came alive. All across the space above Virilia, hidden satellites activated. They had been placed there days before, launched by stealth drones. They didn't shine. They didn't explode. They didn't need to. Each one fired a narrow energy beam, thin as thread connecting to another. Within seconds, an invisible net formed around the Whisper and the incoming Drogar ships. Then Rayan spoke again. Fire pulse. A low hum filled the command room. The satellites lit up with a silent flash. The beams triggered a chain reaction. EMP bursts, short and focused, not enough to destroy. Just enough to shut systems down. The Drogar ships jerked. Sparks flew. Their engines went dark. One by one, the Drogar attack ships stopped moving. They floated in space like broken toys, powerless. The crew on the Whisper stared in silence. They're dead in the water, Mira said. No control, no comms, no weapons. Rayan gave a slow nod. Exactly. A moment later, a furious face appeared on the screen. Warlord Jarok. His voice thundered. What have you done? Rayan replied calmly. We didn't fire a shot. We warned you. You chose to attack. We defended ourselves. Jarok snarled. This was a trick. Rayan's eyes narrowed. No, Warlord. This was strategy. Jarok roared. Then vanished from the screen. Across the orbit of Virilia, the other alien fleets, Sarathi, Varn, and others watched in stunned silence. The humans had done the impossible. One ship had stopped 5, without missiles, without lasers, without blood. Rayan turned to his crew. Send a message to all factions. Broadcast on open channels. Mira nodded and opened the comms. Rayan spoke clearly. This ship was sent to observe, but we came prepared. We have no interest in war, but if pushed, we will defend ourselves. Swiftly and precisely. He paused. One ship was enough. He gave a small nod. Mira ended the broadcast. In the silence that followed, the crew finally began to breathe again. They had survived. They had won. But Rayan's mind was still focused. That was only part of it, he said quietly to himself, because deep below Virilia was still hiding secrets, and Earth had not yet sent its final message. The galaxy watched in silence. News of the Drogar defeat spread fast across the system. One human ship had stopped 5 attack vessels without firing a single missile. It wasn't just a victory. It was a message. In the orbit above Virilia, everything had gone still. The Drogar ships drifted, powerless. The other alien fleets, Sarathi, Varn, and smaller species, held their position. No one moved. No one spoke. Inside the HSS Whisper, the atmosphere was different now, tense, but no longer afraid. Captain Rayan Cole sat in the command chair, reviewing sensor data. The satellites are holding, Lieutenant Mira reported. Drogar systems are still down. No attempts at reboot so far. Rayan nodded. They're waiting. Just like we are. A soft beep came from the console. A new transmission. Not from the Drogar this time, but from the Sarathi Union. Rayan raised an eyebrow. Play it. A Sarathi ambassador appeared on screen. The alien looked like flowing liquid silver, with shifting facial patterns that mimicked emotion. You surprised us, human. The ambassador said in a quiet, thoughtful voice. You held your ground with one ship. That earns curiosity. Rayan replied calmly. We're not here to impress, only to protect what matters. The Sarathi figure tilted its head. And what does matter to your kind? Rayan answered, balance, peace, but not at the cost of weakness. The screen went dark again. No threat, no promise, just interest. Rayan leaned back in his chair. We've changed the conversation. On the lower deck, Ensign Grant walked into the crew lounge, where others sat, watching silent news feeds from other ships. Footage of the Whisper's defense net had already leaked. Experts across the galaxy were analyzing it, calling it a ghost weapon, light trap, or non-lethal dominance tech. Some said it was genius. Others said it was dangerous. Back on the bridge, a familiar voice returned. Warlord Jarok. He appeared on the screen, face full of rage and frustration. You think this ends here? He growled. This was not a victory. It was a delay. Rayan stood slowly, stepping closer to the screen. No, Warlord. This was a demonstration. A chance to back down with your pride intact. Jarok slammed his fist against something off-screen. You dare. I dare, Rayan said firmly. Because we didn't destroy your ships. We could have. But we didn't. Jarok's eyes narrowed. His voice dropped. What else have you prepared, human? Rayan didn't answer. He didn't have to. The screen went black again. Lieutenant Mira turned in her seat. Do you think he'll attack again? Rayan looked out the window. The Dragar fleet was no longer moving. Their ships remained still, floating like statues in the stars. No, he said. Not now. He needs time to think. And he won't like what he's thinking. Mira nodded. And the others? They're watching. They're weighing options, trying to decide what kind of species we really are. Rayan took a deep breath. Now, he said quietly. Send a final message to Earth. Tell them Phase 2 is complete. He looked down at the planet below, still glowing, still silent. And it's time for Phase 3. 2 days passed. The orbit above Virilia had returned to a strange kind of calm. The Drogar fleet remained silent, their disabled ships slowly regaining power but staying in place. No more threats, no more attacks. The other alien factions waited, curious, watching. Inside the HSS Whisper, Captain Rayan Cole stood in the center of the bridge. The tension that once filled the ship had shifted. Now there was quiet control. We've received responses from all factions, said Lieutenant Mira. Sarathi, Varn, even 2 smaller clans. They want talks. Rayan nodded. They don't trust each other, but they trust what they saw. The crew had worked non-stop to maintain their web of satellites, drones and communication relays. The Whisper had proven one thing clearly. Humans were not to be ignored. Rayan turned to Ensign Grant. Prepare the main hall. We'll host the meeting here. Grant blinked. Sir? You're inviting them on board? Yes, Rayan said simply. It's time to show them we're not hiding anything. Hours later, the Whisper's main chamber had been transformed. Long tables, holographic maps, clean light, a space meant for dialogue, not war. The first to arrive were the Sarathi Union delegates, silver-skinned and graceful. Then came the Varn envoys, glowing softly, almost ghost-like. A representative from the Zur Council, a minor faction, followed soon after. Last came General Jarok, not Warlord Jarok himself, but his second-in-command. The Drogar sent him with a warning look, not an open hand. Still he came. Rayan stood at the head of the room, arms behind his back, gaze steady. We are not here to conquer, he said plainly. We are not here to control Virilia. We are here to make sure no one else does either. Jarok's voice was sharp. Then why the trap? Why the satellites? Why the net? Rayan replied, because we knew we'd be challenged, and we needed to be ready. Not to destroy, but to defend. The Varn envoy spoke next, her voice musical and smooth. You did not take, you stopped others from taking. Rayan nodded. Exactly. He turned to a hologram of Virilia projected in the center of the room. This planet is not a prize, it's a responsibility. If we fight over it, we risk damaging something we don't yet understand. The energy fields here, the underground structures, they're ancient, Possibly alien tech none of us have seen before. The room fell silent. Rayan let that thought sink in. Then he continued, so I propose this. A shared observation zone. Neutral, no weapons. Scientific teams from all present species. We study it, together, with strict limits. Jaruk narrowed his eyes. You expect us to follow human rules? Rayan met his gaze. No, I expect you to follow the rules we all agree on, or walk away. The Sarathi delegate nodded. A logical offer. The Varn envoy added, fair. Even Jaruk stayed quiet. Rayan stepped forward. This is how peace begins, not with force, with structure, with balance. The room remained quiet, but no one objected. Rayan could feel the shift, the moment when fear turned into respect, when enemies started to become partners. The whisper had not just survived, it had changed the path of a planet's future. Later that night, in the command room, Mira turned to Rayan. They listened to you. Rayan gave a small smile. They didn't have a choice, but now, maybe they want to. He looked out at Virilia, glowing beneath the stars. One ship, one voice. Sometimes, that's enough. 3 more days passed. The skies above Virilia had changed. The warships still floated in orbit, but their weapons were off. Their shields were lowered. The tension had faded. Inside the HS Whisper, Captain Rayan Cole stood at the large viewing window. Below him on the planet's surface, small teams from different species now worked side by side. Humans, Sarathi, Varn, even a few Drogar, all exploring, studying and sharing data. The neutral observation zone had been accepted. It was not easy, not perfect, but it was real. Lieutenant Mira walked in and handed him a datapad. Here's the signed agreement. All factions. Final version. Rayan took the pad and scrolled through the document. The signatures were there. Symbols from species that had nearly gone to war just days ago. Any word from Earth? He asked. Mira smiled. They're impressed. High Command said you exceeded expectations. Rayan raised an eyebrow. They only expected us to survive. And instead, she said, you made history. He turned back to the window, watching the soft glow of Virelia's crystal fields shimmer in the dark. Ensign Grant entered the bridge with a grin. Captain, the Drogar just sent over a gift. A gift? Rayan asked. Grant held up a container. Spiced meat, some kind of ceremonial dish. Apparently, Jarek said it means worthy opponent. Rayan gave a quiet chuckle. I'll take it. The crew laughed. The room felt lighter now. Different. For so long the whisper had felt alone. But now, it was the center of something larger. An example of what careful strategy, calm leadership and restraint could do. Rayan sat at his desk and opened his log. Captain's log. Final entry: Virelia remains stable. The agreement is holding. No shots fired since the Drogar attack. Our tech worked. But more importantly, our purpose was clear. This mission was never about showing off power. It was about balance, patience, and timing. We didn't need 10 ships. We didn't need a fleet. Just one ship, one voice, one chance, and we made it count. He saved the file and leaned back in his chair. The Whisper would leave orbit in 2 days. Its mission was complete. But the story would spread, how a single ship arrived in silence, stood its ground and changed the course of a conflict without a full-scale war. As the stars twinkled outside the viewing window, Rayan whispered to himself. One was enough. He stood and joined his crew, ready for whatever came next.